In the dense Nisna forest of South Africa, forest ranger Ethan Caldwell lived in a sturdy wooden hut, surrounded by towering trees and vibrant wildlife. One humid afternoon, while patrolling the lush undergrowth, Ethan stumbled upon a trembling lion cub nestled beneath a toppled log. The cub, alone without its mother, looked frail and hungry in the unforgiving wild. Moved by compassion, Ethan gently scooped up the cub, brought it to his hut, and nurtured it with care, bottle-feeding it and naming it Jabu, meaning brave in the local dialect. From that moment, Ethan and Jabu became inseparable, wandering the green forest as a devoted pair like father and son. One misty morning, with a worn map in hand, Ethan guided Jabu through moss-covered crevices to track large animal prints. Jabu bounded ahead, sniffing the earth eagerly, while Ethan meticulously noted the tracks. The air was crisp, and the first rays of dawn filtered through the canopy, casting golden beams across their path. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed from above, startling them both. A massive, decayed tree trunk plummeted from a cliff. Ethan tried to dodge, but the heavy branch crashed onto his leg, pinning him to the ground. Gasping in pain, Ethan struggled to free himself, but the weight was overwhelming. Blood seeped through his torn trousers, staining the forest floor. He reached for his walkie-talkie to call for help, only to find it shattered from the impact. Jabu, sensing danger, growled nervously, pawing at the trunk and nuzzling Ethan's face to keep him conscious. Clutching Jabu's ear, Ethan whispered, "Go get help, fast." After a moment's hesitation, Jabu let out a soft roar and sprinted through the bushes, leaving the forest trail and racing toward the nearby highway. On routine patrol along the forest's edge, police officer Isabella Mathembu spotted a lion cub emerging from the trees. Instinctively, she drew her pistol and took cover behind her patrol car door. To her astonishment, the cub carried a battered walkie-talkie in its jaws, its antenna broken and smeared with blood. Jabu gently dropped the device at Isabella's feet, gazing at her with desperate, pleading eyes. Isabella lowered her weapon, radioed for backup, and spoke softly into her earpiece. "Something's wrong. This isn't normal." As another officer arrived, Jabu darted a few steps into the forest, then turned back, urging Isabella to follow. Isabella cautiously picked up the bloodied walkie-talkie, whispering, "Someone's hurt. This is a call for help." Another patrol car screeched to a halt, and officers gathered, weapons drawn but hesitant. Isabella signaled for them to stay back and silence their sirens to avoid startling the cub. Jabu let out a low growl and plunged into the forest, glancing back as if to say, "Come with me." Isabella rallied her team, "Follow it. Someone needs us." The officers holstered their guns and trailed Jabu's paw prints on the damp forest floor, calling out, "Is anyone there?" Jabu led the way with agility, occasionally letting out a resonant roar that echoed through the trees. After navigating dense foliage, they heard a faint groan behind a moss-covered rock. There lay Ethan, his hands gripping the branch, crushing his legs, his face pale from blood loss. Isabella knelt beside him, checked his pulse, and shouted, "We've got an injured man. Call for medical." Ethan opened his eyes weakly, managing a faint smile. "He found you," he murmured. Jabu stood close, licking Ethan's face, his eyes glistening with relief, as if he'd completed a vital mission. The officers worked swiftly, using crowbars and ropes to lift the trunk off Ethan's legs. Blood flowed freely, but Isabella applied a pressure bandage to stem the bleeding temporarily. A medical team from a nearby ranger station rushed through the forest with a stretcher. Jabu never strayed from Ethan's side, growling softly if anyone handled him too roughly. "Male patient, femur fracture, moderate blood loss, stable vitals," Isabella reported. Ethan was lifted onto the stretcher, his hand tightly grasping Jabu's paw, unwilling to let go of his brave companion. As the afternoon sun bathed the forest in golden light, the scene glowed with an almost ethereal brilliance. Isabella patted Jabu's head and whispered, "You did good, little one." In the ambulance, Jabu sat beside Ethan, staring out the window with hopeful eyes. The officers exchanged hushed words. "We were just led by a lion cub. At Nisna Central Hospital, Ethan underwent a 2-hour surgery to repair his fractured femur and receive a blood transfusion. Doctors assured him he'd recover with a few weeks of rest. Jabu, meanwhile, was taken to the police station for a health check and behavioral observation. The cub refused food and water, lingering near a window, gazing toward the hospital. Feeling for the cub, Isabella requested permission to bring Jabu to visit Ethan. When approved, she carried Jabu into the sunlit hospital room. Ethan's face lit up and he opened his arms. "Come here, my hero," he said. Jabu wagged his tail, leapt onto the bed, and nuzzled Ethan's chest, as if they'd never been apart. Isabella snapped a photo, her eyes misty with emotion. A nurse whispered, "I've never seen such a loyal animal." Ethan shared the story with the medical staff, who marveled at Jabu's bravery. News of the incident spread rapidly. Lion cub saves ranger in Nisna Forest. Local schoolchildren sent cards adorned with drawings of Jabu wearing a police cap. Isabella vowed to honor Jabu's courage. A week later, the police department held a ceremony in their main hall with Jabu arriving in a patrol car, escorted as a guest of honor. Officers lined up to salute him, including those who aided in Ethan's rescue. On a table sat a small silver-plated badge engraved with Jabu, brave and loyal. Isabella, in formal uniform, pinned the badge to a soft lanyard around Jabu's neck. The room erupted in applause. A veteran officer wiped away tears, saying, "I've never cheered for an animal, but this one earned it." Ethan, still on crutches, watched proudly as Jabu stood by his side like a young deputy celebrating a monumental achievement. The police named Jabu an honorary officer, recording his name in their annals. Reporters snapped photos and children lined up to pet the cub. Isabella handed Ethan a duplicate badge and a framed photo of Jabu in a police cap. "This is one remarkable animal," the chief declared. A photo of Jabu with Isabella and Ethan was hung in the station's main corridor. Everyone agreed Jabu was more than a lion. He was a symbol of loyalty and bravery. Discharged from the hospital, Ethan returned to his forest hut with Jabu, his lifelong companion. They resumed their treks through the Nisna Forest, where sunlight filtering through the trees seemed to celebrate their return. Isabella visited occasionally, bringing toys for Jabu, who greeted her with joyful tail wags. Jabu's title as honorary police officer inspired tales of courage and friendship across South Africa's wild heart. In the majestic forest, a young lion had woven a timeless magical story,